Alrighty then, hello folks. I've been busy for a while. Sorry. So let me scoot over here a little bit. Let's keep reading Holy and Glorious for Great Martyr Phanarius and Newly Revealed, Life, Miracles, and Supplicatory Canon, Volumes 1 and 2. I am summarizing the book as I speed read it. I believe we're on part 9 now. After more fervent prayer. This is Washington, D.C. in 1998. So this person got help from St. Phanarius. For months, they couldn't find some papers they put somewhere. And they had prayed to St. Phanarius several times and asked him if he could help them find it, as he'd helped them several times before, but he still wasn't able to find them. So he started to think that maybe he had thrown them away. But then one day he was at the monastery attending the tonsure of a monk and saw the icon of the saint in the church and prayed several times again to find the papers. And this was during the midnight liturgy, venerating all the icons. And on his way back to Washington, it began to occur to look in a certain box downstairs. I think I already read this one. That's all right. We'll read it again. So he looked downstairs in a box. There was a number of books, and the more closer he got home, the more he realized that's where it probably was. And then sure enough, he looked in the box, and it was under those books like he thought. So he thanks St. Phanarius for helping him out. This one's a mother's cry for help. This is from somebody in Hanover, Virginia. This person is a female, and she remembers the first time St. Phanarius came to her help. She had taken her children and some other children from the church to an amusement park. And toward the end of the day, her son and an older friend wanted to play in the arcade, but instead of going on the ride that the other children were going on, that's what they wanted to do instead of going on the ride. She said it would be okay, but not to go anywhere until she got back. Well, of course, they didn't stay, and she couldn't find them anywhere. And she went over to the different arcades and couldn't find them. It was getting dark. She didn't know what to do, so she prayed to St. Phanarius to help her find her boys. And as soon as she turned around, she saw two boys walking toward her with one of the park employees, and was grateful for the help of St. Phanarius. Her son had been really scared by the incident. He was crying, said he would never do that again. She was very happy to be able to share how St. Phanarius had answered her prayer in finding her son. Call the Wild. This one is from Woodinville, Washington. This one's written by mail. This is 2003. This is a longer one. So this is an evening service started at 7:30 p.m. Mother Thecla was chanting, and I was in the narthex. Let's see if it's a female. Oh, it says Stephen. Okay. I was just assuming because it's a convent. Anyway, males at the convent too. Anyway, so Mother Mary got the phone and ran into the chapel and whispered something to Mother Thecla. And then I was informed that a neighbor's cows, 7 of them, had gotten out of their pasture where they feed and were running down the main road and blocking traffic. So the nun went to return to reading the Psalms, and 2 of the nuns and his daughter Xenia ran out to retrieve the missing cows. And they all ran over the pastures to the road. Several other people helped. I have no idea who they were. One of the animals was found right away, and with a lot of work, they were able to get it into the neighbor's field. And then the people helping out found 6 other cows, 2,000 feet in another direction. After a lot of running around and excitement, they had a hard time getting everything in before dark. It was getting dark, and in the process of all this, he lost his cell phone. And of course, he was pretty stressed out because he just ran all over the place in multiple fields, and there was lots of tall grass. Didn't think there was any way he was going to be able to find his phone, so he prayed to say a prayer to Saint Phanarius after one of the nuns recommended and assured him that Saint Phanarius would help. So all the nuns lit lamps and chanted to Saint Phanarius, the Megalenarian. And at the same time, they were chanting this Megalenarian in the field while they were looking for the phone, or the fields. And then he remembered that he had fallen into a deep ditch at one point in one of the fields when he was looking for the cattle. And he still thought that he had lost the phone for good, but he went over to the field where the ditch was. And one of the nuns started trying to call his phone. He looked and listened, but he couldn't hear anything. It was 9:20 p.m. and it was completely dark. And he'd given up and walked back to the couple of the nuns. And there was another nun looking in another pasture, and it was so dark he couldn't see her. The nuns wouldn't give up because they were sure that St. Phanarius was going to help, but he was about ready to give up. It was a brand new phone, so he was pretty upset. They had flashlights at this point, and he went to where he had jumped over a fence at one point and was looking around there. Meanwhile, his daughter, I guess Xenia, was calling the phone repeatedly, trying to get some sort of sound out of it. They went back to get some more extra flashlights for more people. And as one of the nuns was running back to get the flashlights, she was near the barn and she heard the phone. And she yelled, "Here it is, St. Phanarius found it." So later she explained that as she had been running, she noticed out of the corner of her eye what looked like a little blue firefly, and it caught her attention. So she stopped to look at it, and it was the light on the phone was blinking when it was being called. The ringer was turned off, so they couldn't hear it. It was just a little blue light was flickering when it was called. And that's how they saw it. And he had turned it off so he wouldn't disturb the service when he was going into the church service, which is ironic. In the pitch black dark, over 5 acres of pasture, a yard and a road, and a little tiny cell phone turned off could have ever been found in the dark and tall grass. It was amazing. So, glory to God, and thanks to St. Phanarius for helping out. How long we got here? 9 minutes. All right, we can go for another. All right. So this one is from, I don't know where it's from, but it's a female, and she's Their families long had honor and respect for Saint Manas, but they also heard of Saint Phanarius and his miracles. So when this woman married her husband, he'd always prayed to Saint Phanarius for help. And so it was natural that she did as well. And so they've got 3 examples of many miracles that they had experienced. So the first one is her husband and her were going on their honeymoon, and he started having trouble hearing. And she was studying to be a chiropractor, so she did her chiropractor thing, looking for causes. As a certain tool she had to do this with. They used it in San Francisco, but they didn't have time to use it after that. And then they couldn't find it when they started looking for it so they could do it again, some sort of treatment for his ears. They didn't look very thoroughly, but they looked for it. And then they got home and unpacked and started looking for this instrument, but they still couldn't find it. So after a few days, they did a very thorough search. The car, the house, their suitcases, everywhere. But they couldn't find this ophthalmoscope or whatever. I can't even say that properly, but you know what I'm trying to say. The ear, eye, throat, or ears, eye scope. So about a month after that, school was getting ready to start, and she was desperate to find that thing because she needed it for school. And it was $400 to replace it. She didn't want to do that, so because that's a lot. When you're going to school and you don't have much money, that's hard. So they tried again to find it, and they looked in all the places they could think of. Completely stumped, couldn't figure it out. Imagine somebody was pawning it in San Francisco. She suddenly remembered St. Phanarius. So she started praying to him fervently and asked him to return it. And if he would help her find it, she would write the story for the nuns publishing this book. So the husband walked in from the car. She asked him if he found it. He didn't. He walked into the living room to look in the suitcases for the 5th time. She prayed again to St. Phanarius. Her husband was praying to St. Phanarius. And all of a sudden, he walked into the kitchen and told her that she needed to bake a cake for the saint. And in his hand, he was holding the ophthalmoscope. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but that's what it looks like. So they were both thoroughly searching, and they had looked in these suitcases multiple times, and despite all that, that's where he found it. So glory be to God who is wondrous in his saints. All right, so here's one entitled, Please Deliver Me to the Post Office. Yeah, I got plenty of time. So there was a certain morning, and this person had to go to the post office. Where is this person from? This person's from Portland, Oregon, and this is a male. And they were going to drop off a post box at a post office, or package. And going down the elevator, forgotten his glasses, but he figured he'd be able to find the post office anyway. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm tired. Short on sleep lately. It was rainy and foggy outside. He couldn't hardly see, even with his glasses, but he didn't have them. So he was very careful about driving to where he had to go. Couldn't find the address. Spent an hour going back and forth up and down the same 2 miles trying to find this post office. Got irritated. Then realized that he hadn't said a prayer to find it. So as a last resort, he prayed to the Theotokos and St. Phanarius that they help him find it. Finally decided to pull into a little street to make a U-turn and try one more time. And right there in front of me was the big brown U.S. Post Office sign. Glory to God, I was able to get my parcel. Oh, I guess he was picking it up, not dropping it off. Sorry. That's what I get for speed reading. All right, so he wanted to thank St. Phanarius and tell everybody about what had happened. Glory to God. Another miracle, his little sister had a problem keeping her cross on. She had a cross from the Holy Land. My dad bought me this one when he died. And she lost it somewhere at her other sister's house, and they spent all day looking for it. And there was a small drawer where they kept small religious items, and they checked it multiple times, and they were hoping that somebody had found the cross and put it in there, but they didn't find it. Excuse me. Finally, feeling desperate, they prayed to St. Phanarius. They checked through the house again one more time. They knew it couldn't possibly be in the drawer because they'd already checked it a few times, but they trusted in the saint. They opened it, and there it was, neatly laid on top of all the other items, as if carefully placed there. They gave thanks to God, who is wondrous in his saint. Humble prayer is the key. This is from Avon, Massachusetts. Whole bunch of times, St. Phanarius has helped this person out. This is, don't know. Don't have a name here. Anyway, St. Phanarius has helped this person out a lot. And there's one instance that stands out. And that was when he waited to help until I was really paying attention and seriously praying. So this person's sister had borrowed a neighbor's large truck to do some shopping in another town. I guess this person and their sister. And they'd stopped at Home Depot. And it's a huge store if you don't know. It's like a big giant football field full of stuff to build things with. And they went in and tried to find a bunch of stuff on a list. And they asked St. Phanarius to help them find the stuff that was hard to find, that's sweet. And at some point, this person figured out they did not have their truck keys. They don't know what happened to them. They weren't in a pocket. Wasn't sure where they put them. Okay, so this is a female. It wasn't in her purse. It didn't carry a purse. Sister didn't have them. They started walking back to the store, trying to figure out where they'd maybe left them somewhere that they'd stepped or something and set them down or something. So they prayed to St. Phanarius. They couldn't find the keys anywhere. They begged St. Phanarius. They asked at the customer service desk if anybody turned them in. Nope. Again, they prayed to St. Phanarius. They went out to the truck, didn't find any keys there. Oh, and the doors were locked to the truck. So now they didn't have any keys, and the truck was locked. And they'd only had half their errands done, and they lost the keys. The neighbor was not going to be happy about driving 45 minutes to bring the spare set of keys if he had them. So this person promised to bake St. Phanarius a cake if he'd help him find these keys. So they went back to the service desk and asked if they could make an announcement. And they did, but you couldn't really hear it. The speaker system was bad. And this person suddenly realized that they had forgotten to chant the Megillenarian to St. Phanarius. Wonders without end are made manifest, quote unquote. She chanted softly, started walking back through the store again, retracing their steps, prayed and promised to bake a really good cake, a super duper cake, quote unquote. Kept singing the Megillenarian, quote unquote, from the time thine icon was revealed unto all, O saint, end quote. And then suddenly she remembered where she had first needed two hands to to use to pick up whatever they were picking up. And it wasn't an item on her sister's list, but it was something that she had picked up while they were at the store and used both hands to do it. And so she immediately went back there, and she keeps singing the Magdalenian. Hence things lost are straightway discovered by their seekers when my blessed name is called on it, quote unquote. And there they were, on a shelf, right at eye level. And that was the end of that story. Glory to God for all things. And St. Phanarius, thank you for your answering prayers. That was July 1997. And I think I'm going to stop there because we're at 20 minutes. Now we're only on page 47, and this is a 198-page book. I'm probably going to go about halfway, and I'll try to find another saint, alive another saint, or letters of, my father had an extensive library of all the saints in church history, Christian history, early church history, Nicene, Ante-Nicene fathers. He also loved U.S. history, so we have a lot of United States history books. I got a bunch of them over here. Most of the church books are upstairs, and then some are at my house and some are with my brother. But I've got plenty of books to choose from, so I don't know what I'll pick, but we'll do something. So pray for me, a sinner. God bless. Over and out.